You're at a family gathering, watching your cousin announce her engagement. Everyone's congratulating her, but you see what they don't. The slight flinch when her fiancé touches her. The way her smile never reaches her eyes. The desperate relief in her voice that someone finally chose her. You want to pull her aside, to ask if she's sure, to tell her what you see. But you've learned that people don't want their unconscious patterns revealed. They want you to smile, say congratulations, and play your part in the collective performance. So you do. But inside, something dies a little more. Carl Jung understood this death, this slow suffocation of those who see too much in a world that prefers blindness. He called it the burden of consciousness, but even he might have underestimated just how heavy that burden becomes when you're carrying it alone. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Jung wrote this knowing that for some people, who they truly are is someone who sees beneath every surface, who feels every unspoken emotion, who recognizes every shadow. And that privilege, it comes with a price that most people will never understand. The price of perpetual otherness, of being too awake in a sleeping world. Right now, you're probably questioning everything about yourself. Why can't you just enjoy small talk? Why do parties leave you more exhausted than a day of physical labor? Why do you see through people's carefully constructed facades within minutes of meeting them? The answer isn't what you think, and when you understand what Jung discovered about people like you, everything about your exhaustion, your isolation, your inability to tolerate superficiality will finally make sense. This isn't a flaw in your design, it's a frequency. Like a radio tuned to pick up signals others can't hear, you're receiving information on channels most people don't even know exist. The exhaustion you feel, that's from processing multiple dimensions of reality simultaneously. The isolation, that's from speaking a language few have learned. The sense that the world wasn't built for you, that's because it wasn't. It was built for surface dwellers and your deep sea equipment. Think about how you experience a simple conversation. While others are exchanging words, you're reading micro-expressions, sensing energy shifts, hearing the screams beneath the whispers. You're not just having a conversation. You're having an entire experience that includes what's said, what's unsaid, what's hidden, and what's desperately trying to emerge. No wonder you're tired. You're doing the psychological equivalent of simultaneous translation while everyone else is having a casual chat. But this is just the beginning of what makes you different. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Jung meant this as a tool for growth, but for you, it's become a prison. Because you don't just see people, you see through them. Their words tell one story, while their body language screams another. Their achievements broadcast success, while their energy radiates desperation. You pick up the subtext louder than the text. The shadow, louder than the persona. This makes you dangerous. Not physically dangerous, but psychologically threatening to anyone invested in their own illusions. Your very presence asks questions people aren't ready to answer. Why are you pretending to be happy? Why are you lying to yourself? What are you so afraid of? You don't even have to voice these questions. Your eyes ask them. Your energy asks them. Your inability to participate in collective delusion asks them. People feel this. They might not consciously understand it, but they feel exposed around you. Like you're looking at their psychological x-rays while they're trying to show you their Instagram highlights. This is why they often make you the problem. You're too intense. You overthink everything. You need to lighten up. But what they're really saying is something else entirely. Something that explains why you've always felt like an outsider. The workplace becomes a particular kind of theater. You see the power dynamics playing out like a Greek tragedy. The manager compensating for childhood powerlessness. The overachiever running from fundamental worthlessness. The office bully projecting their self-hatred. You understand why certain people clash. They're mirrors for each other's disowned qualities. You see how the entire organizational culture is built on collective shadow material. But try bringing this up in a meeting. Try suggesting that the real issue isn't productivity, but unprocessed trauma playing out in professional drag. Small talk isn't just boring for you, it's literally painful. It's like being fed cardboard when your soul is starving for real nourishment. You need conversations that bypass the weather and dive into the depths. You crave connections where masks aren't just optional, they're impossible. Where someone says, "How are you?" and actually wants to know. Where silence is comfortable because it's full, not empty. But here's what Jung discovered about this need for depth. It's connected to something happening in your nervous system that most people will never experience. While you're starving for real connection, most people are perfectly satisfied with emotional fast food. They want comfort, not truth. They want validation, not growth. They want to be seen, but not too clearly. They want connection, but not too deep. And when you can't, won't give them that surface-level interaction they're comfortable with, they experience you as exhausting, as too much, as someone who makes them feel inadequate just by existing. You've probably lost relationships over this. Not dramatic endings, but slow fades. Friends who stopped calling because conversations with you required too much presence. Lovers who left because you saw their potential too clearly, and they preferred their limitations. Family members who keep you at arm's length because you can't pretend Uncle Jim's alcoholism doesn't exist, or that mom's depression isn't affecting everyone. Jung called it participation mystique, the dissolution of boundaries between self and other. For most people, this happens rarely, in moments of deep intimacy or crisis. For you, it's Tuesday. You don't just observe others' emotions, you absorb them. Their unexpressed rage becomes your inexplicable anger. Their repressed grief becomes your sudden sadness. Their denied anxiety becomes your racing heart. You're not just an empath. You're an emotional alchemist, unconsciously transmuting the psychological material others can't process. That depression that hits from nowhere, often not yours. That anxiety gripping your chest, you might have picked it up from the cashier at the grocery store. That bone-deep exhaustion, you've been processing the collective unconscious of everyone you encountered today. But here's where it gets even stranger. This is why you need so much alone time. Not because you're antisocial, but because you need to sort through what's yours and what isn't. You need silence to hear your own thoughts again. Solitude to remember who you are beneath the psychic noise. Without this regular clearing, you become a walking repository of everyone else's shadow material. But there's a trap hidden in this ability, something Jung saw in his own patients that might be happening to you right now. When you're drowning in others' emotions, you don't have to face your own emptiness. When you're solving everyone's problems, you avoid confronting yours. When you're the counselor, the healer, the one everyone comes to, you get to bypass your own inner work. Until one day you wake up and realize, you know everyone else's soul intimately, but your own is a stranger. You've become a master of masks, but not by choice. Professional you, social you, family you, all carefully calibrated performances designed to be palatable. You dial down your intensity at work because full strength you makes colleagues uncomfortable. You keep conversations light at social gatherings because your natural depth kills the party vibe. You bite your tongue at family dinners because pointing out dysfunctional patterns ruins dessert. Each mask is a betrayal. Each time you pretend to be less than you are, you abandon yourself a little more. And your body keeps score. That chronic fatigue that no amount of sleep fixes. Your soul is exhausted from constant performance. The anxiety that appears from nowhere, your authentic self is screaming to be released. The depression that descends like fog, that's the grief of living as a stranger to yourself. Jung understood this split. He lived it. But he also discovered something in certain individuals that changed everything about how he understood human consciousness. Something that might explain experiences you've had that you've never told anyone about. Then it happens. You meet someone, could be anywhere, and within seconds you know, they see like you see. There's a frequency match, a soul recognition, an immediate dropping of all pretense. Time warps. You find yourself sharing things you've never told anyone, and they're nodding like they've been waiting their whole life to hear exactly that. These connections are rare. Maybe you've had one or two in your lifetime. Maybe you're still searching, but when they happen, they validate everything you've always felt but could never prove. You're not alone, you're not crazy, you're not too much, you're just rare. And rare recognizes rare. But here's the shadow. Once you've tasted true recognition, everything else feels like starvation. Once someone has seen you, really seen you, invisibility becomes agony. Your standards change. You can't go back to relationships that require you to dim your light. You'd rather be alone than pretend, which means you often are alone, holding out for connections that match your depth. And this loneliness, it's preparing you for something Jung saw in only his most conscious patients. You carry something Jung recognized in himself and other rare types, a purpose that feels less like a career choice and more like a cosmic assignment. It's not about success by normal standards. It's about being a bridge between worlds, about saying what others can't say, healing what others don't even know is wounded, creating what doesn't yet exist but desperately needs to. This purpose wakes you at 3 a.m. with downloads too vast for your mind to process. It shows up as a bone-deep knowing that you're here to do something specific, something that requires all of you, your depth, your sight, your sensitivity, your wounds, your gifts. Something that can't be done while you're fragmented, hiding, pretending to be normal. But to fulfill this purpose, you have to be willing to be yourself, fully, unapologetically. And that feels like social suicide. Because your purpose isn't comfortable. It asks you to speak truths others aren't ready to hear, to model ways of being that challenge the status quo, to create from depths that make others aware of their own shallowness. But here's what Jung discovered about the relationship between wounds and gifts that changes everything. Jung discovered that rare personality types often carry what he called a sacred wound, a deep psychic injury that becomes the source of their power. Maybe you were the child who felt everything too deeply, who saw through family facades, who couldn't pretend everything was okay when it wasn't. That hypersensitivity that made you a target? It's the same sensitivity that allows you to perceive what others miss. Your wound taught you to see in the dark, and now you can guide others through their own darkness. Not because you've transcended pain, but because you've alchemized it into wisdom. Not because you're healed, but because you've learned to honor your wounds as teachers. This wound gift makes you dangerous to every lie, every pretense, every comfortable illusion. You're living proof that what breaks us can also remake us, that sensitivity is strength, that depth is medicine, that those who see differently are not broken, they're essential. But understanding this intellectually and living it, that's where the real challenge begins. The world doesn't need another well-adjusted person. It needs you in all your complicated, intense, too much glory. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's a superpower. Your intensity isn't too much, it's exactly what's needed. Your inability to do shallow isn't a flaw, it's your contribution. But owning this requires courage. People will resist the real you. Some will leave. Systems will try to shame you back into conformity. The world will test your commitment to authenticity in 1,000 ways. And sometimes, you'll be tempted to go back to sleep, to put the masks back on, to pretend you don't see what you see. Don't. The world is dying from lack of depth, drowning in surfaces, suffocating under the weight of collective pretense. Your authenticity isn't just personal liberation, it's medicine for a culture addicted to facades. Your willingness to see and be seen clearly is a form of activism. Your depth is a gift to a world that's forgotten how to swim in anything but shallows. Jung knew there was no cure for consciousness, no way to unsee once you've seen. But he also knew that this seeing served a purpose, that someone needs to witness the shadows, that someone needs to hold space for depth, that someone needs to model what integration looks like, that someone is you. The path forward isn't about seeing less. It's about finding sustainable ways to live with your sight, Creating boundaries that protect your energy while keeping your heart open. Finding work that honors your depth rather than punishing it. Building a life that has room for all of you. The seer, the feeler, the knower, the wound, the gift. It means accepting that your tribe will be small but real. That many will not understand you, but those who do will see your soul. That the price of consciousness is worth paying because the alternative, willful blindness, is no longer possible for you. But here's what most people don't realize about this path, something Jung discovered late in his own journey. Right now, as you listen to these words, you might feel a strange mix of relief and grief. Relief at being seen, grief for all the years you thought you were broken. Both are sacred, both are real, both are part of the journey from isolation to integration. Jung walked this path, so have countless others throughout history. The mystics, the artists, the healers, the seers. You're part of a lineage of those who couldn't not see, who could not feel, who could not know. You're not alone, even when you feel like you are. Your struggle is real. The isolation can be crushing. The weight of seeing can feel unbearable. But something else is true. The world desperately needs what you carry, your depth, your sight. Your refusal to accept surfaces as reality. Your commitment to truth, even when it costs you belonging. This is your invitation to stop apologizing for who you are, to stop dimming your light to make others comfortable, to stop fragmenting yourself to fit into spaces too small for your soul, to start honoring your rare nature as the gift it is. Find your people. They exist, scattered like stars, but burning just as bright. Create from your depths without apology. Speak your truth even when your voice shakes. Trust that your sensitivity serves a purpose larger than your comfort. Know that your struggle to see what others don't isn't a curse, it's a calling. Jung would tell you that individuation, becoming who you truly are, is the greatest adventure available to humans. For you, with your rare sight and deep feeling, it's not just an adventure. It's a responsibility, not to be perfect, but to be real, not to have answers, but to keep questioning, not to heal others, but to model what conscious struggling looks like. The world needs your eyes, it needs your depth, it needs your willingness to see what others can't yet see. It needs your courage to be who you are in a world that will try to convince you to be less. So keep seeing, keep feeling, keep knowing. Keep being too much for those who are committed to not enough. Keep trusting that your rare nature serves a purpose, even when you can't see it clearly, because consciousness evolves through those willing to see first, and you, with all your beautiful struggle, are part of that evolution. Your sight matters. Your depth serves. Your existence as exactly who you are is a gift to a world that doesn't yet know how desperately it needs you. Welcome home to yourself. The struggle continues, but now you know. It's a sacred struggle, a necessary struggle, a struggle that serves not just you, but the collective evolution of consciousness itself. Jung saw you coming. He prepared the way. Now it's your turn to walk it with all your depth, all your sight, all your beautiful, terrible, necessary struggle. The world is waiting for what you see.